Here, Essence with Chin will take you through emotional, philosophical stories, small slices of life, where love, kindness, and hope are gently rekindled. Listen with me to reflect and feel, to love life and the people around us a little more. Because sometimes even a single small act can touch an entire heart. Put on your headphones and listen to these 50 life stories with me. Story 1: The Coffee Cup. A group of former students gathered to visit their old university professor. All of them were successful in their own way. Some were managers, some owned small businesses, others worked abroad. But as they sat down, their conversation turned to stress, pressure, anxiety, and exhaustion. No one said, "I'm happy." Everyone said, "I'm tired." The professor didn't give them a lecture. He quietly went into the kitchen and brought out a pot of fragrant coffee along with a variety of cups. Elegant porcelain cups, crystal glasses, thick mugs, old plastic cups, and even chipped ones. "Please help yourselves," he said. Everyone rushed to pick the nicest cups. No one touched the old or chipped ones. The less attractive cups were left alone on the table. When everyone had their coffee, the professor smiled. "Have you noticed? Each of you chose the finest cups, and now you're glancing at each other's cups to see whose is nicer. That," he said gently, "is the source of your stress." The room went silent. What you really wanted was the coffee, the taste, the warmth, this very moment. But you all focused on the cups, the external, not the essence. Jobs, status, money, reputation, they're just the cups. Life itself, peace, meaning, feeling alive, that's the coffee. He looked at them and said, "If you keep staring at the cups, you'll forget to taste the coffee in your hands." Lesson: the wise don't chase appearances at the cost of genuine living. Ask yourself, am I living meaningfully? Before asking, do I look successful enough? Story 2: The Two Wolves. Within, a little boy once asked his grandfather, "Grandpa, why do I always feel like there's a battle inside me? Sometimes I want to be kind, but sometimes I feel jealous and angry." The old man, sitting calmly by the fire, said, "There are two wolves inside every person. One is darkness, envy, greed, pride, selfishness, hatred. The other is light, love, compassion, humility, kindness, gratitude." The boy thought for a moment, then asked, "Which wolf will win?" His grandfather smiled. "The one you feed more." The boy was quiet for a while, then whispered, "But what if I accidentally feed the bad wolf? What if I lose my temper or hurt someone?" The old man stroked his hair. "No one in this world feeds only one wolf. Wisdom doesn't mean never feeding the bad one. It means noticing when you do, and stopping. Just remember to choose again every day." Lesson: wisdom isn't about never being wrong. It's about realizing when you are, and having the courage to change before it's too late. Story 3: The Carpenter's Last House. There was once an old carpenter who had worked all his life for a wealthy man. He was skilled and known for his fine craftsmanship, but age had caught up with him, and he said to his employer, "I'd like to retire. I want to spend my remaining days with my wife and grandchildren." The employer nodded and said, "All right, but before you leave, please build one last house for me, your final project." The carpenter agreed, but his heart wasn't in it anymore. He used cheaper wood, rushed the work, skipped the details he once cared for. The house still looked fine to others, but he knew it wasn't his best. When the job was done, the employer came to inspect the house. Instead of entering, he handed the key to the carpenter and said, "Thank you for all your years of service. This house is my gift to you." The carpenter froze. He realized in shock, the house he had built carelessly was the one he would now live in. Lesson: everything we do in life is like building our own home. Careless work today becomes the house we must live in tomorrow. To be careless with life is to be careless with ourselves. Story 4: The Bamboo and Patience. A young man, impatient with life, wanted success fast. He tried many things, but quit each time he didn't see quick results. One day, he met an old farmer tending to empty-looking plots of land. "What are you growing?" "I see nothing here," he asked. "Bamboo," said the old man, "but I see no shoots." The old man smiled. The first year, nothing. The second year, still nothing. The third year, the same. People think the land is dead, but beneath it the roots are spreading deep, deep down. So deep that no storm can pull them out. "And then?" the young man asked. "In the fifth year," the farmer said, "the bamboo shoots up meters high, almost overnight." He looked at the boy kindly. "You're not failing. You're still growing roots, Lesson. The wise know that unseen growth matters most. Don't uproot yourself just because others can't yet see your height." Story 5. The Dirty Mirror. A man always complained, "The world is filthy. People are fake. Everyone is selfish." He was tense, bitter, and angry at everyone around him. One day, he visited an old teacher to vent his frustration. The teacher didn't argue. He simply handed the man a dusty, dirty mirror. "Look into this," he said. The man frowned. "My face looks awful. So dirty." The teacher calmly replied, "It's not your face that's dirty. It's the mirror." Then he handed him a clean mirror. The man looked again and saw his true face. Still tired, still lined, but no longer filthy. "The world isn't always as dirty as you think," the teacher said softly. "Sometimes what's dirty is the mind through which you see it. If you want the world to look better, clean your mirror first, with kindness, gratitude, and openness." Lesson. The wise don't rush to judge others as bad. They look within first. The way we see the world reflects our own heart, not reality itself. Story 6. The Beggar and the Treasure Beneath His Feet. A beggar sat by the roadside for decades, clutching an old wooden chest. Each day, he begged for a few coins from passers-by. His life was filled with poverty and humiliation. One day, a stranger passed by and asked, "What's inside your chest?" "Nothing," the beggar replied. "Just junk. I sit on it so my back doesn't hurt." "Have you ever opened it?" the man asked. "No, why would I? It's clearly worthless." "Then try opening it," said the stranger, and walked away. The beggar hesitated, then opened the chest, for the first time in his life. Inside lay gold, piles of gold, enough to live comfortably for the rest of his days. He sat in silence, tears rolling down his face, not out of joy, but out of realization. He had spent his whole life sitting on a treasure, yet lived as if he had nothing. Lesson. Many people live the same way, sitting on their own talents, saying, "I have nothing." Wisdom is learning to open the chest within yourself instead of begging the world for what's already inside you. Story 7. The Drop and the Ocean. A drop of water once asked the ocean, "I'm so tiny. What meaning do I have?" The ocean replied, "Alone, yes, you are small. But without countless drops like you, there would be no me." The drop sighed, "But if I fall into the sand, I'll disappear. I'm too weak." The ocean answered, "Alone you evaporate. Together you become a wave." The drop was silent for a long time. Then it understood. Its strength was not in itself, but in what it chose to belong to. Lesson. The wise don't just ask, "How capable am I?" They also ask, "Who am I standing with?" Some places make you disappear. Others help you rise as waves. Story 8. The Rock and the Drop of Water. On a tall cliff, there was a deep groove in the rock. Someone asked, "Did children carve that?" The forest keeper replied, "No. A drop of water fell there, drop by drop, for decades." The rock asked the water, "How did you defeat me?" "I'm harder than you." The drop replied, "Because I didn't want to win in one day. I wanted to win for sure." Lesson. Persistence defeats strength. The wise don't aim to win fast. They choose to win surely. even if it takes years. Story 9. The Apple Tree and the Boy. Once there was a great apple tree and a little boy who loved it dearly. Every day, the boy climbed its branches, ate its fruit, and slept in its shade. The tree was happy whenever he came. But as he grew up, he visited less and less. One day, he returned looking worried. "I need money," he said. "Take my apples," said the tree. "Sell them." The boy picked every apple and left. Years passed. He returned, now a grown man. "I need a house," he said. "Cut off my branches," said the tree. "Use them for wood." He did so, and left again. The tree ached in silence. Many years later, the man came back, old and tired. "I'm weary. I just want a place to rest. I have nothing left but my stump," said the tree. "But you can sit upon me." He sat down, leaned back, and sighed peacefully. The tree felt happy again. Lesson. True love doesn't boast. It gives until it's empty. Often that love is from parents. The wise learn to appreciate before all that's left is a stump. Story 10. The Elephant and the Small Rope. A boy visited a circus and saw massive elephants tied with only a thin rope attached to a small wooden stake. No chains, no cages, just a fragile rope. He asked the trainer, "How can such a huge animal stay tied by something so weak?" The trainer replied, "When they were young, we used this same rope." They tried and tried to break free but couldn't. They were too small. Eventually, they gave up. Now, even though they're strong enough to snap it easily, they still believe they can't. The boy stood there for a long time thinking, how many things in my life are holding me back, just because I think they can? Lesson. The most dangerous limits are not the ones outside us, but the false beliefs inside us. I can't. The wise dare to try again, even after failing once. Story 11. The Painting of Peace. A king announced a contest to paint true peace. Artists from everywhere submitted their works. One painting showed a calm lake, mirror-like, reflecting the mountains and blue sky. Everyone said, "That's surely the winner." Another painting depicted wild mountains, dark storm clouds, lightning, and a roaring waterfall. It looked chaotic. But hidden in a crevice near the waterfall was a small bush, where a bird sat calmly in its nest, protecting its eggs amidst the storm. The king chose the second painting. He said, "Peace is not the absence of storms, but the calmness of heart amidst them." Lesson. The wise don't seek peaceful places. They learn to keep peace within, wherever they stand. Story 12. The 3 Fish Traps. A Zen master showed his student 3 fish traps. The first one, he said, is woven too loosely. The water passes through and the fish escape. The second is woven too tightly. Water can't flow, and the fish suffocate. The third is just right. Water flows in and out, yet the fish stay. These, he said, are the 3 ways to live. The foolish open themselves too wide. They believe everything, follow everyone, and are swept away by the world. The stubborn close themselves too tight. They accept nothing new and suffocate within their own thoughts. The wise keep balance. They listen, they choose, and they let life flow through while keeping what matters. Lesson. Wisdom lies not in being open or closed, but in knowing when to listen and when to hold firm. Story 13. The Cup of Salt. A young man came to his teacher and said, "My life feels miserable. Every little thing hurts me." The teacher told him to take a handful of salt, mix it in a cup of water, and drink. "How does it taste?" "Bitter." The young man grimaced. Then the teacher led him to a lake. "Now pour the same salt into the lake and drink again." "How does it taste now?" "Not salty at all." The teacher smiled. "The salt, your pain, is the same. But when your heart is like a lake, not a cup, the bitterness disappears." Lesson. The wise don't wish for fewer problems. They cultivate a larger heart. Story 14. The Shoe Salesman and the New Market. Two shoe salesmen were sent to a remote island. When they arrived, they discovered that no one there wore shoes. The first sent a message back: hopeless. No one wears shoes here. The second sent, fantastic. No one has shoes yet. An entire market is open. Same situation, two perspectives. One saw despair, the other saw opportunity. Lesson: the wise don't see through fear, but through imagination. Between despair and opportunity lies only a difference in how you choose to look. Story 15, The Broken Clock. A man found that his clock had stopped working, stuck at 9:15. Angry, he threw it into a corner and bought a new one. Years later, he stumbled upon the old clock again and laughed. Useless thing. Then he noticed, twice a day at 9:15 a.m. and 9:15 p.m., that useless clock was still exactly right. He stared at it quietly, realizing something. Even broken things can be right, just not noticed anymore. Lesson: even when you fail or falter, your worth doesn't disappear. The wise cherish the moments they are right and use them to begin again. Story 16, The Frog in the Well. A frog lived at the bottom of a well. Every day it looked up and saw a round patch of sky the size of the well's opening. It thought, the world is only this big. One day, heavy rain fell. The water rose and the frog was swept out of the well. When the water receded, for the first time it saw the open sky, mountains, rivers, and even the ocean. It was stunned. It realized that for years it had argued, judged, bragged, and looked down on others, all while living in a well. Lesson: the wise do not rush to judge the world when their vision is still narrow. You only understand how wide life truly is after you climb out of your own well. Story 17, The Lump of Coal and the Diamond. Deep in a mine, two lumps of coal lay side by side. One complained, "We're ugly, black, useless. Why should we keep enduring all this pressure?" The other stayed silent. It endured millions of years of heat, pressure, and darkness. One day, it was finally brought to the surface as the brightest diamond. When they met again, the coal asked, "How did you become so radiant?" The diamond answered, "Because I stayed in the pressure, without complaining." Lesson: pressure doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to ask, do you want to become a diamond or not? Story 18, The Candle in the Dark. A small candle was lit in a pitch-black room. It trembled, afraid of the wind, afraid of being blown out. Looking at the endless darkness around it, it whispered, "The darkness is so big. I can't change anything." A voice came from the room. "Because you're here, the darkness is no longer everything." The candle understood. It could not erase the whole night, but simply by existing, it made the night no longer absolute. Lesson: the wise don't wait for full daylight before daring to shine. A single small light can change an entire room. Story 19, The Farmer and the Donkey. A farmer's old donkey fell into a dry well. The farmer didn't know how to pull it out. At last, he thought, "It's old anyway. I'll just bury it and end this." He called his neighbors for help. They began shoveling dirt into the well. At first, the donkey panicked, but with every shovel of dirt that landed on its back, it shook the dirt off and stepped on it. Again and again, layer after layer, the dirt that was meant to bury it slowly became steps beneath its feet. Eventually, the donkey climbed out of the well, while everyone stood there in disbelief. Lesson: in life, people will throw dirt on you. Criticism, mockery, failure. The wise don't let it bury them. They step on it and rise. Story 20, The Brick Wall and the Crooked Bricks. A mason carefully built a long brick wall. He measured every brick, aligned every row. When it was done, he looked at his work and noticed 2 bricks were slightly crooked. He was furious. He stared only at those 2 flawed bricks and kept saying, "The wall is ruined." Years later, visitors came and said, "This wall is beautiful." He was shocked. "Didn't you see the 2 crooked bricks?" They smiled. "Yes, we did." but we also saw the other 998 perfect ones. And in that moment, he realized he had spent years looking only at what was wrong and had forgotten everything he had done right. Lesson: the wise see the whole picture. Two crooked bricks don't ruin an entire wall, just like a few mistakes don't erase the worth of an entire person. Story 21. The Torn Shoes and the Bare Feet. A poor young man walked past a shop window and stared longingly at a pair of shoes. He looked down at his own shoes, torn, worn out, and sighed. If only I had new shoes, I'd be happier. On the way home, he saw a child sitting on a bench, smiling at the sky with pure joy. Then he noticed the child had no legs. The young man stood still for a long moment. Then he dusted off his torn shoes, put them back on, and walked away, lighter than before. Lesson: the wise don't compare in order to complain. They look down and realize they are still blessed. True happiness sometimes is nothing more than I still have 2 feet to walk with. Story 22. The Two Seeds. In a field, 2 seeds lay side by side. One said, "I'm scared. If I sprout, the cold might kill me, the rain might break me, insects might eat me, people might pick me. I'll just stay underground where it's safe." The other said, "I want to know what sunlight feels like. I want to feel the wind and the rain," so it pushed upward. It grew into a plant, then blossomed, releasing fragrance into the air. One day, a chicken passed by, scratched the dirt, and ate the fearful seed that had chosen to stay safe. Lesson: the desire for absolute safety can cost you your life. The wise know. No seed ever blooms from inside fear. Story 23. The Pencil. Before placing a pencil into the box, the maker said, "You'll do many great things, but remember 5 rules. 1. You only fulfill your purpose when someone is willing to hold you. 2. You will feel pain when you are sharpened, but that's how you become better. 3. The most important part of you is inside, not your outer shell. 4. Wherever you go, you will always leave a mark. 5. If you make a mistake, you can correct it." Lesson: live like a pencil. Humble, willing to be shaped, good at heart, and brave enough to correct yourself. That is wisdom. Story 24. The Fisherman and the Businessman. A businessman went on vacation to a quiet seaside village. He saw a fisherman lying on the sand, relaxing. "Why aren't you out fishing?" "It's still early," the businessman asked. "I've already caught enough fish for today." The fisherman smiled. "You should go again," the businessman insisted. "Catch more, sell more, buy more boats, hire workers, start a company, become rich." "And then what?" the fisherman asked. "Then you can retire early, live peacefully, lie on the beach, listen to the waves, play music, eat grilled fish." The fisherman laughed softly. "I'm already doing that." Lesson: the wise know their purpose before chasing their method. Sometimes you already have what others spend a lifetime running after. You just haven't noticed. Story 25. The Jar of Stones. A professor brought a large glass jar to class. He filled it with big stones until it looked full. "Is the jar full?" he asked. "Yes," the student said. He then poured in a bag of smaller pebbles, shaking the jar so they filled the gaps. "Full now?" "Yes." Then he poured in sand and finally water. Everything still fit. "The jar," he said, "is your life. The big stones are what truly matters. Family, health, purpose, dreams. The pebbles are your job and money. The sand is little things, daily noise. If you pour the sand first, there won't be room for the stones." Lesson: the wise set priorities. Don't let small things fill up the space meant for what matters most. Story 26. The Mirror and the Window. A student asked his teacher, "Why do the rich often feel lonely while the poor often share with each other?" The teacher led him to a mirror. "Who do you see?" "Myself." Then he led him to a window. "Who do you see?" Everyone. They're both glass, the teacher said, but the mirror has a thin layer of silver behind it. Once silver is added, you only see yourself. Lesson. When money covers the heart, you stop seeing others. The wise learn to use silver to shine light, not to block compassion. Story 27. The Painter and the Broken Brush. An elderly painter was in the middle of a painting when his favorite brush snapped. His student panicked. "Master, does this mean you can't paint anymore?" The old painter smiled. "No, it just means I'll paint differently." He dipped the broken tip in paint, then used his fingers, his palm. His strokes became wilder, fuller of emotion. That painting became his final masterpiece. Lesson. The wise don't let their tools define their limits. When one method closes, they create another. Story 28. The Grain of Sand and the Storm. A tiny grain of sand lay in the desert, complaining, "I'm small. I'm pointless. I can't change anything." The passing wind whispered, "Without you, and millions like you, there would be no storm." Then a sandstorm rose, covering the sky. Inside that storm, the grain of sand finally understood its worth lay in unity. Lesson. The wise never underestimate what is small. Together, small things can move an entire desert. Story 29. Two friends in the desert. Two friends were lost in the desert. At one point, they argued, and one slapped the other. The one who was slapped said nothing, but wrote in the sand, "Today my friend slapped me." Later, they found an oasis. The same friend slipped and nearly drowned, and the other pulled him out. This time, he carved into stone, "Today my friend saved my life." The friend asked, "Why did you write the hurt in the sand, but carve the kindness in stone?" He replied, "When someone hurts us, we should write it in the sand so the wind can erase it. But when someone is good to us, we should engrave it in stone so nothing can erase it." Lesson. The wise forget the harm and remember the kindness. Story 30. The Blind Man and the Lantern. A blind man always carried a lantern when walking at night. People laughed at him. "Why do you need a lantern?" "You can't see anyway," he replied. "It's not to light the way for me. It's so others don't run into me." Lesson. The wise don't only think of themselves. The light we carry isn't just for us. It can keep others safe, too. Story 31. The Father and His Three Gifts. An old father, sensing that his time was near, called his three sons to him. He handed each a small bag. To the eldest, a bag of gold. To the second, a bag of seeds. To the youngest, an old notebook filled with records of kind deeds. The eldest went trading, invested his gold, and lost everything. The second sowed his seeds. The first crop failed, but he persisted until he owned wide fields. The youngest read the notebook, practiced kindness, and earned people's love and help. Years later, when they met again, the youngest was the happiest. He said, "Father did not give us wealth. He gave us a way to live." Lesson. The wise ask not, "What do I get?" but "What can I learn?" Riches may vanish, but wisdom and virtue are treasures that endure. Story 32. The Broken Bridge. Two villages once united were divided by a quarrel. They stopped speaking and swore never to cross the river between them. A traveling carpenter arrived and was hired to build a fence to keep those people out. He worked silently for a week. When he finished, both villages came to look, and saw not a fence but a bridge. The man who hired him was angry at first, but then saw someone from the opposite bank walking across with a smile. "I wanted to apologize," the man said softly, "but didn't know how to start. Thank you for building this bridge." The carpenter only bowed and whispered, "I merely rebuilt what should have never been broken." Lesson. The wise know when to build walls and when to build bridges. Forgiveness is the bridge that joins two broken hearts. Story 33. The Lotus Farmer. A farmer wished to plant lotuses in a muddy pond. His neighbors laughed. "In that filthy mud, nothing beautiful can grow." Yet he tended it daily, hands stained black. Months passed. And one morning the pond burst into bloom, pure white and fragrant. The neighbors gasped. How can such beauty rise from muck? He smiled. The lotus remembers its roots, but it never stops reaching for the sun. Lesson: the wise do not fear beginning in the mud, they fear never rising from it. Adversity is the soil where dignity blooms. Story 34, The Child and the Stone. A large stone blocked a narrow path. Everyone complained, walking around it. One boy stopped, pushed, and struggled until sweat covered him, and finally rolled it aside. Underneath was a purse of gold and a note. Reward for whoever removes the obstacle instead of complaining. Lesson: the wise don't ask, why is this stone here? But how can I move it? Every hardship hides a gift for those who act. Story 35, The Kite and the String. A kite soared high and shouted down, "That string is holding me back. If it were gone, I'd fly higher." The wind rose, the string snapped. The kite was free for a few seconds, then fell and shattered. Before it disappeared, it finally understood. The string that seemed to restrain it was what kept it aloft. Lesson: freedom isn't the absence of limits, it's knowing which limits let you fly without breaking. Story 36, The Cracked Mirror. A young woman grew angry seeing cracks in her mirror. She smashed it and cried to her old teacher, "I hate myself, I look awful." He handed her another cracked mirror and said, "Even broken glass still reflects light, doesn't it?" People are the same. Though cracked, they can still shine. Lesson: the wise don't wait to be flawless to shine. Our cracks make our light real. Story 37, The Candle and the Wind. In a dark night, the wind began to blow. A small candle trembled. "You'll blow me out." The wind whispered, "No, I only want to know if you truly wish to shine." The candle quivered, flickered, and steadied. The wind passed gently, and by dawn, the little flame glowed brighter than ever. Lesson: trials don't come to extinguish you, but to ask whether you still want to burn. Story 38, The Teacher and the Full Cup. A clever student asked a Zen master, "Please teach me the path to enlightenment." The master poured tea. The cup filled, but he kept pouring until it overflowed. "Master, it's spilling." "This cup is your mind," he said. "It's already full of 'I know.' How can I pour more?" The student bowed. "I understand. To learn, I must first be empty." Lesson: the wise keep learning, for only an empty mind can hold new wisdom. Story 39, The Pebble in the Boot. A young general went hiking with his soldiers. Everyone complained of sore feet, except him. "Don't you hurt?" they asked. He removed his boot and poured out a small pebble. "I kept it there all morning to remind myself that what trips us isn't the mountain. It's the pebble we ignore." Lesson: the wise clear not only great obstacles, but also small ones that can make them stumble. Story 40, The Blacksmith and the Sword. A young apprentice grumbled, "Why must we heat, hammer, quench, and repeat? Why not just cast the metal once?" The master said, "To become a true sword, steel must face the fire many times. Metal that cannot endure heat will never be strong." When the sword was finished, its gleam reflected on the young man's face, and he realized it was the fire and hammering that made both the blade and himself stronger. Lesson: the wise don't fear hardship. Without the forge, there can be no strength. Story 41, The Cactus and the Drought. In the middle of a dry desert, a small cactus struggled to keep growing. Other plants mocked it. "Look at you, ugly, full of thorns. Who would ever want to be near you?" The cactus stayed silent. It gathered every rare drop of dew and stored water inside its body. Years later, a terrible drought struck. All the other plants withered and collapsed. Only the cactus still stood, and it was even in bloom. A little bird landed on it and asked, "Aren't you thirsty?" The cactus smiled. "I've learned how to live with thirst." Lesson: The wise don't wait for perfect conditions to live well. They learn how to stand strong in harsh places. Story 42. The Trash Collector and the Flower. A poor man picked up trash in the park every morning. One day, he found a beautiful flower that had fallen from someone's basket, now covered in dirt. He gently cleaned it, put it in an old bottle of water, and placed it in a corner of the park. The next day, passers-by stopped, looked, and smiled. Over time, that corner of the park had less trash. People quietly began helping him keep it clean. A reporter asked, "Why do you do this?" He answered softly, "Even if I'm collecting garbage, I still want to live surrounded by flowers." Lesson: the wise don't wait for the world to become beautiful before being kind. They are kind. And that is what makes the world more beautiful. Story 43. The Child and the Butterfly. A boy saw a butterfly struggling to break free from its cocoon. It fought and fought, but could not get out. Feeling sorry for it, the boy took scissors and cut the cocoon open. The butterfly did come out, but its wings were weak and soft. It never learned to fly. The father said, "Do you know why it struggled?" That struggle pushes blood into its wings and makes them strong. You helped too soon and took away its strength. Lesson: the wise don't rush to remove every struggle. Some pain is necessary to grow. Story 44. The Man and His Shadow. A man spent his days chasing his own shadow, trying to step on it. The more he chased, the more it slipped away. Finally, exhausted, he sat down. Then he lay still. His shadow stopped and rested beside him. He realized, when I stop trying to prove myself all the time, life becomes peaceful on its own. Lesson: the wise don't chase appearances just to win. They know when to stop and see that they were already enough. Story 45. The River and the Rock. A river flowed across many lands until it met a great rock blocking its path. The river grew angry. "You're stopping me. You're in my way." The rock replied calmly, "I am not stopping you. I am simply standing here. It's how you choose to respond that shapes your path." The river quieted, then gently split in two, slipped around the rock, and continued on. Years passed. The steady flow of water slowly smoothed the rock, wearing it down from a hard boulder into a rounded stone, then into a small pebble. Lesson: the wise don't slam themselves against obstacles. They find a way through. Water's strength isn't in force, it's in persistence. Story 46. The Chopped Apple Tree. A farmer had an old apple tree that once gave him sweet fruit. Over time, the tree stopped producing apples, so he decided to cut it down and plant something new. Halfway through cutting, he heard panicked chirping. There was a nest of birds in the branches. He looked closer and saw carvings, names of his children from years ago, scratched into the bark when they were small. He set down his axe and rested his hand on the trunk. "You've given me so much," he whispered. "I forgot." Lesson: the wise don't discard something just because it's no longer useful. Gratitude is how we keep the beautiful parts of our past alive. Story 47. The Traveler and the Oil Lamp. A traveler walked at night carrying a small oil lamp. Along the road, someone mocked him. "That weak little light, what good is it?" He said nothing. Later, when the wind picked up and the path turned dark, only the traveler could still see his steps. The one who mocked him got lost. In the morning, the traveler said, "A tiny lamp doesn't light the whole road, but it's enough for me to take one more step." Lesson: the wise don't wait for the entire path to be bright before moving forward. They walk one step at a time with the light they already have. Story 48. The Potter and the Broken Vase. A potter crafted a beautiful vase. One day, it slipped and shattered on the floor. He didn't throw it away. Instead, he gathered every shard, fitted them back together, and filled the cracks with gold. When he was done, the vase looked even more beautiful than before. People asked, "Why?" He answered, because now it doesn't only tell the story of perfection, it tells the story of healing. Lesson: the wise don't hide their scars, they turn them into art. Breaking is natural, healing is the craft. Story 49. The Flower in the Wind. A strong wind swept through a garden full of flowers. When it passed, only one flower was still standing. The gardener was amazed. "You're small and fragile. How did you not break?" The flower replied, "I bent." Lesson: the wise don't fight every storm with force. They survive through softness. Humility doesn't make you weak. It keeps you alive. Story 50. The Old Man and the Child Planting a Tree. An old man was planting a young tree. A boy walked by and laughed. "You're already old." "Why plant it?" "You won't live to see it grow." The old man smiled. "The big tree you're playing under now. Someone else planted it without living long enough to enjoy its shade. Now it's my turn." Years later, after the old man had passed away, the tree had grown tall and wide. The boy, now grown, sat beneath its shade and whispered, "Thank you for thinking beyond yourself." Lesson: the wise don't live only for today. They plant goodness for tomorrow. The seed of love never dies.